What happens in Vegas isn't staying in Vegas. The underdog crew is leading the pack at the West Coast Classic, while a young gun has the hot hand for the men. And the Russians are rolling in Asia. That's next on the semifinals edition of Game Central. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a semifinal edition of Game Central. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto, recapping day one of the CrossFit Asia Invitational and the West Coast Classic. And the semifinals are obviously different than the regionals, but they have had a regionals feel. It's been fun to watch.
Definitely. The live competition is amazing. And I know that it makes it a little bit of a longer season for the athletes, but for us as spectators, it is so fun to see the multi-events and then obviously to have the semifinals in person. Ton of fun.
Day one of individual competition is presented by Ram Trucks, the 2021 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Visit ram.com to learn more. We are going to start with one of the four North American semifinals, the West Coast Classic, that is being held at the Ohlsen Arena in person in Las Vegas, Nevada. 7 total events for the individuals and the teams, with 5 qualifying spots to the games on the line. Joel Godett and Tommy Marquez had a front row seat to all the action on day one there in Las Vegas, and they have a recap of what went down in the men's competition.
Guys, thank you. Tommy Marquez and Joel Godett here in Vegas. And Tommy, as we take a look at the individuals, the women played out pretty much according to script, but for the men, very interesting after day one at the top.
Yeah, a new young name basically staking his claim atop the leaderboard after day one, but really some impressive performances across the board in each one of these individual events. You're looking at the best times from back when they first showed up. It was really just a target for these athletes to showcase how much they've improved and showcase the breadth and depth of the field across the board in the men's division.
We go back a couple of weeks to the Granite Games, and the teenagers there got so much hype with Emma Carey and Mal O'Brien, but Dallin Pepper not to be outdone. 19 years of age, and Tommy, he is atop the leaderboard.
Yeah, he is performing like he has been at the top of the sport for quite some time, making quick transition from the teenage to the individuals. In event one, he's going toe-to-toe with Tola Morakinyo, the guy everyone knows is the man to beat in this event. And you know what? Even if he doesn't get an event win, just by hanging tough with him the entire way, he gets a top finish, and then he carries that momentum into event two, going up against Cole Sager this time, out in front with a guy like Cole who you expect to win an event, because he's very familiar with this type of couplet. And again, it results in a second place finish. A pair of second place finishes is good for first overall, and a tremendous start to Dallin Pepper's semifinal campaign.
Well, toe-to-toe with Cole Sager. Let's talk about Cole Sager. How'd his first day impress you?
Well, this couplet to end the day of thrusters and legless rope climbs is right up Cole's alley. Shades of 2016 when he used this same pairing of movements to move back up into the top 5 and earn a games ticket. But here he decides to use it early, earn 100 points, keeps himself in a qualifying spot, and a big boost going into day number 2.
Cole Sager's one of the Wiley veterans, so too is Noah Ohlsen, and maybe the favorite coming into this, the #1 overall seed, and very quietly has stayed there.
And even though he's not atop the leaderboard, I think he has done well enough in each one of these events to showcase why he's the favorite. Just a couple of top 5 finishes so far in day one, and if you carry that out, extrapolate that across 7 tests over the weekend, that is what you have to do in order to win an event like this.
If there was one person that could call their absolute shot coming into this, it was Tola Morakinyo, snatching a lot of weight very quickly. He did that.
Yeah, all eyes on Tola, the man that used to have the snatch record, and he gets to the final 265-pound barbell and says, you know what? Why not touch and go? Give it a run, huh? He had such a big lead that he was able to take that chance and still rebound nicely to hit that last lift. And once he does, he just casually walks his way to the finish mat in 100 points, throws up the Wolfpack sign, and it's too sweet for 100 points for Tola.
He is just outside qualification position. Spencer Panchik is not just outside qualification position. A lot of work going into day 2.
Yeah, some high expectations for Spencer based on his performances in the Open and the quarterfinals so far, but hits a brick wall on that final bar at 265. Takes him a couple attempts, a couple of no reps to finally hit it. It's a bottom half finish for him to start his weekend. He manages a top 10 finish in event number 2 to close the day with a little bit of momentum, but he still has a ton of ground to make up on the leaderboard.
So Spencer actually falls out of position in heat number 3. He'll be in heat number 2 coming up tomorrow. Dallin Pepper in first place, top 8. Advance to something, be it the games or the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, but don't look over your shoulder down, because look at those names on the leaderboard behind him. Sager, Sweeney, Ohlsen, Morat. 3 of those guys have top 10 finishes at the games. All 4 of them are perennial games athletes. And so far, it's the young man, Dallin Pepper, 19 years old, picking up where his training partner Emma Carey left off. He's a fellow brute athlete, and so far so good through day one.
The ultimate equalizer comes up next, though. It will be the ruck run for 6K in the Vegas heat that starts your day on Saturday. That's a very interesting table setter and tone setter for the weekend. Let's go back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. Let's go to the women's side of things, the standings after 2 events. And it's Kari Pearce who sits atop the overall leaderboard by 12 points over Danielle Brandon, Danny Spiegel, and Bethany Shadburne. They are tied for 3rd. And it's Reagan Huckabee who is 20 points clear of Kelly Stone for that 5th and final qualifying spot to the CrossFit Games. Kari Pearce has an event win, but it's the 3rd place finish that she had in the opening event that I think might be the most impressive thing about her day one.
By far, Sean. Obviously Kari Pearce is coming off of her best career season thus far, but the heavy barbell events have always just been a damage control event for Kari Pearce. To pull 3rd place on that snatch ladder was super impressive and should really kind of show us what she's capable of this year. There was no question that 2nd event, the rope climb event, was going to be her event to win. We know that she's absolutely the strongest when it comes to upper body pulling, but for her to get 3rd, I didn't even think she would be top 5 on the snatch event. For her to be 3rd place on that event, I think really speaks volumes of to where she's at this year in her training.
It was a great day for that whole Underdogs athletic crew that trains here in Las Vegas. Obviously Kari Pearce leading, but Bethany Shadburne and Danielle Brandon are in the top 5 as well. It was a great day one for that crew.
Yeah, underdog might be a misnomer at this point, right? I mean, that crew, that's now training under Justin Kotler, they had a great showing today. And Danielle Brandon, like you said, was another one of those athletes. So she is a 2-time Games athlete, and she's looking to kind of build on these great events that she's had so far at the Games. And with this new team, you can see how well things are going for her in that on that 2nd event, the rope climb event that I just mentioned was definitely Kari's event. She was only 2 seconds behind Kari Pearce on that event. So super impressive from Danielle Brandon. And then Bethany Shadburne, she's in 4th place right now, I believe, overall with 2 4th place finishes. And what that shows me is, you don't have to win any events during the weekend. You just have to be consistent. And if Shadburne can keep up her consistency, undoubtedly she will qualify back for the Games.
Yeah, let's go to the team side of things, where they are also through 2 events. And it's Backcountry Black with 195 out of a possible 200 points. Really good day one for them. Invictus sits in 2nd. Blues City Athletics with 165 points. They lead Team Man-Made by 15. And it's Invictus Unconquerable up by only 10 points over the teams that are tied for 7th place. CrossFit Hype is the 3rd team tied there, so it's not a comfortable lead for them whatsoever when it comes to that 5th and final spot. But Backcountry Black, they lead. How are they pulling this off right now?
Well, it's hard to fathom, right, Sean, because Invictus is an 11-year Games veteran team. But don't forget that Backcountry has also been to the Games 4 times as well. And, while Invictus has a very impressive roster, when you look at Backcountry, you have to think that sometimes the sum is better than its parts, and that could be the case for Backcountry in this event.
The team competition is sponsored by Ramwad. Improve your mobility and athletic performance with Ramwad. Visit ramwad.com for a free 7-day trial. It's been a lot of fun with the West Coast Classic, watching these old games or invitational and regional events take place in a new setting with athletes who have had more experience under their belts than they did the first time we saw them.
Right, I think like you said, it has a very regionals-esque feel to it. It's a live event. We haven't seen that in over a year. We're hearing a lot of the announcers that we're used to. We're seeing a lot of the players that we're used to. And then to have the events that we've actually seen a lot of these athletes compete in, and then some of the athletes that are new, it's so much fun.
The CrossFit Asia Invitational is going on as well. There are 2 spots up for grabs, and after day one, the Russians are ruling. The CrossFit Asia Invitational, the first 2 events for that semifinal are now in the books. It was another virtual event that was being held, and coming out of the quarterfinals, a lot of the Russian athletes for the men, the women, and the teams, they were the favorites, and they are showing why here in this semifinal.
Yeah, the Russian flag doesn't just hold the top spot on both the men's and the women's side. It holds the top 3 spots on both the men's and the women's side. Super impressive performance on day 1. But again, Sean, there's 2 days and 4 events full of competition left, so it's still anybody's game.
Day 1 of individual competition is presented by Ram Trucks, the 2021 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Visit ram.com to learn more. The CrossFit Asia Invitational is one of the virtual semifinals, so it will have all the same events that we saw last week in those 3 virtual semifinals, 6 total events, and then 2 qualifying spots at the CrossFit Games are up for grabs. On the women's side, as you heard Annie say, the Russians are doing very well. The top 3 on the women's side, all from Russia, led by Svetlana Veselova with 192 points. She's tied with Asia Invitational for those 2 qualifying spots at 192 points. On the men's side, Aleksandar Ilin, perfect. He won 2 events, 200 total points. Stas Solodov, 8 points back of him, and it's Roman Krenikov at 180 points. Let's start with the men's side. Aleksandar Ilin wins both events. He's a former Games athlete that people might not know a whole lot about.
Right. He was actually 56th at the 2019 CrossFit Games, and he was the #1 seed out of the quarterfinals in Asia. But like you said, he had a perfect first day, Sean, 2 event wins, and unofficially, he has the best time, the fastest time on event 2. Again, that's unofficial so far, but that would be over all of the athletes that have competed in that event 2 in all of the semifinals. Impressive first day for Aleksandar.
On the women's side, we don't know a whole lot about Svetlana Veselova, but we're going to learn a lot about her here in the coming days.
Right. She was actually the #4 seed coming out of quarterfinals. She's 33 years old, and she was actually 272nd in the Worldwide Open. So not super impressive there, but what she does have going for her is that she trains under Roman Krenikov. And we know what an athlete Roman is. And so, again, to be training under his tutelage and with him is a huge benefit and should prove to really help her in the coming days.
The favorites are doing well for the individuals in Asia. The favorites on the team side are also doing very well. The Kolesnikov team, they are your overall leaders. After 2 events, they have 195 out of a possible 200 points. And then it's Team Dubai, they have 90 points, and they are 25 points clear of CrossFit Muharraq. So things starting to play in Dubai's favor there as they've opened up a pretty good lead there heading into the weekend. But the theme is really the same here with a lot of these teams. As you look at their rosters, and Kolesnikov team is no different. They are loaded.
They are, Sean. So all 4 members actually turned down semi-individual spots for the qualifiers. All of their members were actually somewhere between 9th and 24th on the individual qualifiers. And some members actually have been on past regionals teams. And I didn't even know this, Sean, but they were actually 3rd worldwide in the Open this year. So not surprising. It's just a team that wasn't on our radar coming into this. There are now, that's for sure.
And we've seen some, pretty competitive times, so it will be fun to see if that keeps up from the Asia CrossFit Invitational. Team competition is sponsored by Ramwad. Improve your mobility and athletic performance with Ramwad. Visit ramwad.com for a free 7-day trial. We're talking about those competitive times. Asia sometimes is a region that does not do as well when they get to the games, but if this keeps up with some of these competitive times we're seeing, their athletes will be fun to watch at the games.
Definitely, and they are at an advantage, right? They've had a couple weeks to see these events and to kind of test them. But this is what we want. We want the best of everybody in the world to be represented at the games, and they are definitely putting up some of the best times so far.
And speaking of the CrossFit Games, tickets for the games in Madison, Wisconsin are on sale now. You can go to games.crossfit.com for more information on that. And if you want to volunteer, you can still register. Also head to games.crossfit.com for that as well. We will have complete coverage throughout the weekend of all the semifinal action. If you haven't already, we had virtual matchups for the men and the women and the teams. For the Atlas Games, you can check those out on the CrossFit Games YouTube channel, or you can go to the CrossFit Games Facebook page for those, and you can always check out games.crossfit.com for all of that as well. For Annie Sakamoto, I'm Sean Woodland. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you back here for day 2 of the final weekend of the 2021 No Bull CrossFit Games semifinals.